The East Baton Rouge Parish Library believes that a thriving business community is good for us all. That's why we help entrepreneurs start businesses with tools like Gale Business Builder. Keep commerce rolling by providing access to computers, printers, and free Wi-Fi at 14 branch locations. Get a library card. Grow your business at ebrpl.com/business.
Good morning and welcome to Strictly Business. I'm your host, Penny Font. This webcast features conversations with Louisiana's most influential CEOs, entrepreneurs, and community leaders with the goal of providing insights, ideas, and inspiration to help you and your business grow. We want to keep Strictly Business as interactive as possible, so for those joining us live, here's an icebreaker question for you. Submit your vote in the comments and the results will be posted at the end of the webcast. Strictly Business is brought to you by the East Baton Rouge Parish Library. Without their support, this project would not be possible. How can your company set a new bar for customer service? Who better to walk us through that than Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry President Scott Berg? The company is widely known for its customer experience. Scott is deeply involved in the jewelry industry, having served as chair of the Jewelers Vigilance Committee and president of the American Gem Society. He is actively involved in the Baton Rouge civic community with philanthropic endeavors, including past chair of the board for United Way of Baton Rouge, the Arts Council of Greater Baton Rouge, and Cancer Services of Greater Baton Rouge. He is currently serving on the President's Council for Tulane University. Scott, welcome, and thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. Nice to see you.
So let's start with this. How do you define exceptional customer service at Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry?
So, Penny, exceptional customer service is when we don't just do the ordinary, we do the extraordinary. When someone comes in and they don't just say, oh, well, that was just like everywhere else, and oh, that's what I expected. No, we have to go above and beyond. And in order to go above and beyond, we have to enable our client advisors to be able to think on their feet and be able to act and feel empowered to make sure that the customer is being taken care of at all points.
What are the key principles of customer service that you believe are universal across all industries?
Well, I think it's empathy and integrity, okay? Without empathy, you can't understand what the customer is wanting, and you don't know, you want to treat someone the way you would want to be treated. And then integrity is, without a doubt, just so important because you have to do what you say you're going to do. If you want to lose a relationship with a customer, don't do what you say you're going to do. So I think those are critical components to making sure that the customer experience throughout the journey is exceptional.
And on that point, it's so important to make sure everyone across an organization is committed to the same level of customer service. So how do you train your staff to consistently deliver that memorable, high-quality experience?
Well, training is exceedingly important to us. We spend over $300,000 a year in training our associates and making sure that we are delivering on the extraordinary expectation. And how do we do that? It's through one-on-one training with management teams, but it's also morning meetings. We have what's called a 10 to 10 every morning in the stores. And what is that for? So it's getting alignment around what are we going to accomplish for the day. If a client's coming in, knowing that client's going to come in, knowing what that client is interested in, so that not just the client advisor that's working with the client is ready for that person to come in, but the whole team knows that person's coming in. What is it that client likes to drink? Would we have that beverage ready for them? And making sure that there's alignment across the organization. And how do we do that? Again, it's the training component that we talked about at the 10 to 10s, but it's also, we have what's called New Hire University, which is 3 days where we come in and immerse our team in training, culture, and understanding of our organization and what the expectations are. And And we have ongoing training through a Lessonly platform, which is a digital training presence, where we have industry experts come in and talk about, customer service, sales presentations, making sure that we're doing the best we can to enable our associates to exceed our customers' expectations.
Can you share a specific example of a time when your team went above and beyond for a customer?
Penny, we're looking to go above and beyond at every intersection with the customer. But one way that we try to do that in a small way is maybe get a reservation for someone's anniversary that they weren't able to get at a restaurant. But we want to utilize our resources to make sure that we are going above and beyond for the customers. And so what we have, which is called our CRM system, which is called Redbook, what we do is we catalog interest for customers. So if there's an experience that's going to happen in Baton Rouge and we know that certain customers like country music, we might want to go ahead and have our LSU box for the Country Music Festival so that we can invite customers that would be something of their interest. But at all points, whether it's we've closed the store down, or after hours, open the store up for an engagement, and where the customer said, yeah, look, I really want to make this special. I want to come in and I would like to, give the engagement ring to my soon-to-be bride in the store, and we're willing to do that. We want to go above and beyond to make sure that our customers know that we value them.
That's wonderful. How do you measure customer satisfaction and gather feedback?
So there's the empirical way, which is we have a Dear Lee card, which we ask every person that comes in either to give us how we did through Dear Lee or give us a review through Google or Facebook. But then there's also the unempirical way, which is listening. Okay, what I do sometimes is I'll just be on our sales floor and I'll hear interactions and I'll say, I'm not so sure that customer is leaving satisfied. Let me just talk to them and see. Because sometimes it's not the things that they say, it's the things they don't say. And it's how do we help our team and all of the organization see that? Because, someone could have left and we did everything by the book, right? And we're saying, hey, I did everything I was supposed to do, but did we really deliver that above and beyond? Or are they just leaving with it was an okay experience? And then how do you make sure, like when someone brings in a repair and we may say it's going to take 2 weeks and they say nothing on it, but you can kind of see on their face they wanted it sooner. How do you go in and ask the question and be curious? Oh, was it something that you needed sooner? Did you have an occasion? Because in order to be able to go above and beyond, we have to be curious and we have to ask and lead with questions to make sure that we find out what is it that they're looking for.
Absolutely. You mentioned CRM. What role does technology play in enhancing your customer service experience?
Technology is crucial. Back in the day, what would happen would be is your CRM system was in your mind, and what I would do is go up to certain employees and go, hey, have you talked to Mrs. So-and-so? Have you talked to this person? Have you talked to this person? And it worked, but it wasn't efficient, right? Because how am I going to remember everyone? How is our management team, and how are our associates? So in order to make sure that we are cataloging and making sure that we are reaching out and engaging our clients, we have to have that. It's just too important. How do we know when that special occasion is? How do we know that we have a ring in on repair and it's due at a certain time? And yes, paper and pen works, but I can tell you technology brings you infinitely closer to making sure that you're delivering that experience or that extraordinary experience day in and day out.
Yes, it does. How do you handle customer complaints and turn what could be negative experiences into positive ones?
So this is so critical. You have to lead with the question. You can't lead with the assumption. Too many times have I seen someone say, on the other side, meaning the person delivering the experience, not the customer, come in and come up with a preconceived notion of what happened. And if you do that, now you've already said, oh, well, it went this way. But you don't know. You have to be curious. You have to lead with a question. And you cannot have a preconceived notion. And you have to have empathy throughout the course of the discussion. You have to say, okay, if I was in their shoes, how would I feel? Come to it and then try to resolve the situation. What is it that was hindering that satisfaction? And how can I remove what was hindering it? And then how do I not just remove it, how do I go above and beyond through integrity to make sure that I deliver upon what I say I'm going to deliver and change the experience?
You've touched on this a little bit throughout our conversation, but are there, what kind of strategies or what other strategies do you use to build long-term relationships with your customers?
So for us, everything's long-term. It really is. This is not a transaction. This is what we intend on doing, is building relationships. We want to see, we don't want just you to get engaged with us. We want your kids to get engaged with us. We want to make sure that we are doing the best we can to have lifelong relationships and not worry about one thing. When you worry about a transaction, you're being short-sighted and you're making decisions for today that could affect tomorrow. And I think we as an organization think it is so important to make sure that we are thinking about the future and making sure that we're building upon our foundation with the customer so that it becomes a relationship. Because they're a customer at first, right? But how do they become a friend? And that's what we're striving for.
How do you personalize the customer experience at Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry?
So throughout the organization, from myself, my brothers, my father, it is all about empowering our employees. They are our most valuable asset, and we have to empower them to be authentic and be able to make sure that they can deliver and build that trust and build that relationship with their clients. And that looks different with each client. So there's no textbook, hey, if you do this, this will happen. No, I want you to be yourself. We want you to be yourself and interact with your customers and help them to create extraordinary experiences. And what that means, I can't define in a box because it may mean different things to different people, and you might not deliver the same way I deliver it. But let's have a focus on excellence. Let's have a focus on being first choice when it comes to customer service.
Okay, so let's look at the other side of things. What are some common customer service mistakes that you may see other companies make or companies in general make, and how can those be avoided?
So a lot of times, Penny, I would say they're not asking the questions, okay, to find out what's important to me or find out what's important to the customer. You know, when you go in somewhere and they don't find out when you need something by. So, you know, they just say, oh, well, it comes in 2 weeks. Well, is 2 weeks what I need? Is that, are you helping me? Or are you hindering me with 2 weeks? And it may not matter. 2 weeks may be fine, but if I didn't ask the question, then how do I know how to help deliver it? And then the other thing is communication. I think that so many times what gets lost from customer service is communication. We try our best to make sure that we're in front of the communication, not behind it. Meaning we're calling ahead saying, hey, I know that this was supposed to be delivered on this date. Everything's on time. We want to make sure that, you know, oh, do you need something? Do we need to change it? But a lot of times I find that communication only happens when you walk through the door and when they tell you it's ready. And is that enough?
You are so right. How do you ensure that, let's talk about multiple locations now. How do you ensure that your customer service standards are maintained across all your locations?
So we have amazing people. We have people that have been with the organization for over 40 years. We are blessed. My brothers and I are so blessed to have these amazing team members that help us throughout the organization. And they're the owners in the markets that one of my brothers and I are not in. But we're also fortunate to have three of us. So we are what I would say are owner operators. We're not owners that are in a corporate office pulling levers trying to figure it out. No, we are with our team members in the stores. So I office out of a store and my two other brothers office out of stores, and we are divided. So I'm here in Baton Rouge. One of my brothers is in New Orleans and one of my brothers is in San Antonio. So from that aspect, it helps us. But the other key aspect is we can't be everywhere all the time. It's having amazing team members that have been with us, that understand the culture, and making sure that that culture of being first choice is permeating throughout the organization.
All about the people. So let's take a little bit of a deeper dive on that. What are the most important qualities that you look for when hiring for customer-facing roles?
So number one, do they like people? I mean, like, you can train the skills, but if someone doesn't like people, they don't even get a start at Lee Michaels. Okay, you have to love people. So that's number one, and then number two is, do you have empathy? Do you have integrity? And are you able to learn quickly? And if you can do those things and you have those attributes, you're going to be successful at Lee Michaels.
Okay. How do you integrate customer service with your overall business strategy?
Well, it is the strategy. I mean, when you're in the relationship business like we are, that's step number one. And how do you do it is you focus on your people first, because your people are the ones interacting with the customers. And if you are making sure that you're going above and beyond for your client advisors and your associates, then they're going to translate that to exceptional experiences for the customer. So I think it's all circles around how do we make sure we're focused around our people. I mean, one thing that we did this year that our CAO had mentioned to us that I think was amazing, Jane Harrington, she said, we really need a family day. And we had never done a family day. And so what we did is every location took off for 3 to 4 hours and we did a family day. Here in Baton Rouge, we did Top Golf. We invited everyone's family to come. Anyone that lived in their household, they could come. And it was an amazing time. But what was it about? It was, number one, to make sure that we told our teams how important they are to us. Number two is that, we treat them with the experiences that they treat our customers with. How do we create an experience that is exceptional for them so that they can create those same experiences for our customers? That's another thing that we do is what's called President's Circle. Penny. And so what President's Circle is our very top producers all go on a trip. And we've taken them to Cancun, we've taken them to the Bahamas, to Chicago. And what is that about? It's, number one, saying thank you. Number two, creating experiences so that they can see what exceptional customer service is like. Because we want to stay at the Ritz or the Four Seasons. We want them to see what exceptional customer service, so that they have lived it and seen it and know, hey, that's what I want to deliver.
So let's take a higher look at that. So talk a little bit more, or do you have more to share about the role that leadership plays in fostering that culture of exceptional customer service?
Absolutely. One of our mottos as a family is lead by example. Don't ask someone to do something you're not willing to do. And that permeates throughout the organization. And we want our managers to be able to roll up their sleeves. We're going to roll up our sleeves and do everything that we're asking them, and we want our managers to do the same with our client advisors. So if you're not leading by example, you're not leading, in our opinion, in the right way. Why would anyone want to follow someone that's saying, hey, do this, but I'm not going to have to do that? So if you're not really there trying to make sure that you're giving exceptional customer service and you're modeling that behavior, then there's no way that anyone else in the organization is going to do it. So for us, it's all about making sure that and respecting everyone in the organization. The custodians are as important as the owners, and it has to be that way. Because everyone has a role to play in making success in an organization. No one part is greater than the sum.
So true. You talked a little bit about this, but I want to see if there's more for you to share. How do you keep your team motivated to deliver excellent customer service day in, day out consistently?
Number one is rewarding the small things. Making sure that when you see something happen, when you see someone leave with a smile on their face and they're so happy, going up to Sally and saying, thank you so much. You today delivered something that really was meaningful to that customer. It's talking about in the mornings during Christmas and everyone's tired because they've worked a ton, and saying, hey, guys, we have to remember, I know we're tired, but people are coming in here wanting to spend their hard-earned money to celebrate. And we're in the celebration business. And we have to do as best we can to make sure we're celebrating with them and bringing joy.
What about, we've talked mostly about the stores, what about the e-commerce customer experience? Talk to me about how do you keep that at the same level as that you provide in your stores? So
digital experience is not 100% the same as the physical store. But how do we emulate, if we want to be first choice, right? We have to be first choice on all platforms. So you have to use the same logic that you're using in the store, which is how do we go above and beyond? How do we write a thank you, a handwritten note thanking them when we deliver the package from e-commerce? How do we make sure that we're available to someone to answer the questions? I mean, I will say this, some of our best dear leads have come from e-commerce, thanking us for the experience that happened. Are we making sure that we're wrapping the packages in the same way that it would happen in a Lee Michaels store? And leading with the same way with a question if there's a concern, and not an assumption.
Great. What are some of the most valuable lessons that you've learned about customer service over the years?
You can never do too much to continue to refine your process and continue to grow your organization to focus on the important things. And customer service is so important. You can't take a day off. It's not like, oh, today we're not going to focus on. You have to be focused and intentional on it day in and day out. The day you stop focusing on it is the day that everything else comes apart. And so, we work as a family and an organization as always trying to continually improve our processes, our people, and the organization.
What advice would you give to other executives who want to enhance their own customer service?
Number one is be on the front lines of it. It's very hard to try to implement change or to say whether you're doing a good job or not if you're not involved in it. So I would say step number one is if you want to improve your customer service, know where your customer service is. And the only way to do that is interact with the customer. Because if you're not interacting with the customer, how are you understanding what the service is? And how are you making sure that it's being delivered? And are you engaging those customers? Are you asking them, hey, did we meet your expectations? Did we exceed your expectations? And being willing to hear the hard things. My dad always said to me, he said, you know what? The people that tell us the things we don't want to hear are the ones that are helping us the most. Because someone walks in and tells you, you let them down, you can first look at it and say and give every reason why it was not your fault, or you can sit there and say, you know what, I have to hear this, and the reason why they're telling me this is because they care enough about our organization that they're willing to tell us this, so we really have to hear it.
Fantastic advice. Can you discuss the impact overall of exceptional customer service on brand loyalty and repeat business?
I don't think there's any greater impact on loyalty and repeat business than customer service. And I'll move it forward. Let's put it in this whole genre of customer experience, which the experience is beyond just the service. It's how does the customer feel? How does the customer interact? How does the customer engage? When they walk in our stores and they want to just have coffee and sit down and chat with their client advisor, and they're not buying anything, and we don't care if they buy anything, but we just love the fact that they want to be here, and this is something they want to do on a Monday morning or Saturday afternoon. That's when I think the experience of customer experience is at its height, and I think that's also when brand loyalty is at its height, because the customer is engaged beyond being a customer, they're a friend.
I love that. In closing, what customer service trends do you anticipate emerging over the next few years, and how should our audience prepare for them?
Well, I'm going to go backwards to go forward. I think that customer service in America had got so dumbed down by large box stores that and I'll call it large box e-commerce, where it's, you can't talk to someone. If you need help, you need to go to the cash register and they call someone to come to aisle 3 an hour later to help you, and it's like, wow, how did we get here? Like, I came here because I had a problem, I wanted a solution, and there was no one here to even help me. So that's where we started, and I think we're seeing a shift into, hey, you know what? It's not always about the least expensive product or the cheapest. It's about what is the value proposition that I get. It's meaningful to me to be able to walk in and have a stylist help me. That's of value to me. And I think we're seeing consumers shift back to looking at value and not just what is the lowest cost, because they've been on the lowest cost, and what happened is they weren't getting the value that they wanted. And I see that exponentially getting higher, and I believe that people are going to demand better and customer service, and we as customer-centric organizations are going to have to continue to up our game. How do we continue to see the best experiences? Are we going out to the best restaurants and seeing, what's happening there? Are we going to, in Europe, other retail in Europe, and seeing what's going on there? Is it different than here? Are we challenging ourselves to make sure that we're seeing all opportunities so that we can deliver upon exceptional customer service? Because I think that's only going to become more important.
Absolutely. Scott, this has been so insightful. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. I very much appreciate it and honored to be on the program.
And thanks also to our viewers for joining us today, as well as our sponsor, the East Baton Rouge Parish Library. Please join us again for the July episode of Strictly Business. Until then, on behalf of our show's director, Tim Coles, and myself, enjoy and make your day a great one.